a temple bathed in fire, the Chosen One consumed by shadows. But instead of meeting his old master upon the burning shores of Mustafar, he turns to face the greatest Jedi of them all. This is the secret no holocron dares to speak. A forgotten thread in the tapestry of destiny, where fate itself bends and the galaxy trembles. What if the dark path of Anakin Skywalker had not collided with Obi Wan Kenobi, but with the wisdom, the might, and the ancient power of Master Yoda? It is a duel never witnessed, a storm where hope and despair entwine. For one stands as the youngest knight to ever rise, reckless, gifted, burning with rage. The other, the oldest master alive, weathered by centuries, burdened by the endless struggle against the dark. This confrontation would not be a clash of brothers, nor of equals. It would be prophecy colliding with tradition. The raw, untamed fury of the Chosen One against the living embodiment of the Jedi Order itself. And in this alternate history, the galaxy may not burn in the same way, but the scars left upon it may run even deeper. Every great story in Star Wars pivots on a single decision, a single change in destiny that alters the fate of the galaxy. In the timeline we know, Anakin Skywalker's fury ignites into betrayal, leading him to clash with his former master, Obi Wan Kenobi, in one of the most tragic duels in history. But imagine, for a moment, that Obi Wan never stood before him. Instead, Yoda, the ancient Grand Master of the Jedi Order, is the one who seeks him out. The shift seems small, but its ripple effects would be immense. Obi-Wan's confrontation with Anakin was rooted in love, heartbreak, and years of shared history. That bond was both his strength and his weakness. Yoda, however, carries none of those attachments. His approach would be colder, more measured, less emotional. For Yoda, Anakin is not a brother, not a son, but a failing student of the Order, and perhaps the gravest threat the galaxy has ever seen. This divergence could arise from the Council making a different decision. Imagine that Obi-Wan, instead of being dispatched to Mustafar, is sent after Sidious. Perhaps Yoda feels that only he, the oldest and most powerful Jedi, can face the Chosen One directly. Such a decision would be bold, even desperate, but it would align with the urgency of the moment. Now picture Anakin, standing amid the rivers of fire, his eyes burning with Sith corruption. He expects Obi-Wan, the familiar voice of his past. But instead, he finds Yoda, silent, steady, ancient. The impact of this change cannot be overstated. Instead of brotherly grief, he is met with the cold, immovable presence of the Jedi's greatest defender. This meeting reframes the prophecy itself. The Chosen One, meant to bring balance to the Force, now stands against the symbol of balance embodied in Yoda. It is not just apprentice versus master. It is destiny against tradition, youth against age, chaos against order. The tragedy deepens when we realize that Anakin may have been more vulnerable in this confrontation. Obi-Wan's emotional bond allowed him to hesitate, to plead, to beg for redemption even as he fought. Yoda would not beg. He would not plead. He would strike with precision and intent, determined to end the Sith threat no matter the cost. And so the divergence is set. The flames of Mustafar no longer witness a duel of love turned sour, but a battle of cosmic symbolism, where the galaxy's past meets its future, and where one choice could reshape everything that followed. When two titans meet in combat, the fight becomes more than blades and strikes. It becomes a clash of philosophies, of eras, of visions for the galaxy itself. Yoda, nearly 9 centuries old, represents stability, patience, and the wisdom earned through endless battles with the dark. Anakin, barely into his 20s, embodies raw potential, unchecked emotion, and the terrifying speed of a prodigy corrupted by rage. Yoda is no stranger to the Sith. For centuries, he studied their rise and fall, preparing for the inevitable day when their shadow would return. His duel with Count Dooku proved that age had not weakened his command of the Force. His speed was blinding, his agility unmatched, his mastery of both lightsaber and telekinesis beyond comprehension. Against Sidious, he demonstrated resilience few could hope to match. Yoda was not merely a warrior, he was the living memory of the Jedi Order. Anakin, however, is different from Dooku, different even from Sidious. He is not polished elegance or refined cunning. He is storm and fire, a chosen one whose power exceeds his training. When his fury takes hold, Anakin becomes unpredictable, overwhelming, relentless. He is not fighting with strategy alone, but with the raw desperation of a man who believes destiny itself bends to his will. This duel, then, would be like watching a star collapse into a black hole. Anakin would rush with a ferocity meant to break through any defense, hammering Yoda with blows that could shatter stone. His strength is volcanic, his passion limitless. Yoda's counters, however, would not meet that strength with strength. Instead, he would redirect it, flow around it, using his mastery of Adaru, an acrobatic form fueled by agility and precision, to let Anakin's fury consume itself. The balance between them is fragile. Anakin's youth means stamina, aggression, and raw speed, but it also means recklessness. Yoda's centuries give him endurance of a different kind, patience, adaptability, the ability to sense not just the strikes of the blade, but the intention behind them. Where Obi Wan fought defensively, hoping to outlast Anakin, Yoda would fight offensively, aiming to end the duel swiftly before the galaxy's fate could slip away. Yet here lies the terrible irony. The Chosen One's raw potential may be the only power capable of overwhelming even Yoda. Anakin's connection to the Force is not like others. He channels it with instinct, with fury, with sheer belief that nothing can stop him. Against such power, even the greatest Jedi might falter. Thus the duel becomes more than combat. It is a test of the Force itself. Can wisdom withstand destiny? Can centuries of order hold back the chaos of youth? Or will the fire of Anakin Skywalker consume the galaxy's oldest protector before hope can rise again? Mustafar was always destined to be a crucible of fire, a planet of rage and destruction, mirroring the turmoil within Anakin Skywalker. But with Yoda standing upon the blackened stone instead of Obi-Wan, the atmosphere of that confrontation shifts from tragic intimacy to mythic inevitability. It is no longer the heartbreak of a master and apprentice, but the meeting of the galaxy's greatest warrior with its most dangerous child. Picture it, the sky split with volcanic eruptions, rivers of molten rock churning like the anger within Anakin's heart. He ignites his blade with a snarl, his voice thunderous as he declares the Jedi dead. And in response, Yoda does not argue. He does not plead. He ignites his green lightsaber in silence, his small frame dwarfed by the storm of fire around him, yet radiating a calm that unsettles Anakin more than any words could. The battle begins with violence unmatched. Anakin's strikes are merciless, wild, each blow meant to overwhelm the smaller figure before him. But Yoda dances across the battlefield, leaping with impossible grace, flipping from platform to platform as molten sparks illuminate his movements. Their blades crash, each strike echoing like thunder through the volcanic air. Unlike Obi-Wan, Yoda would not hesitate to unleash the Force in its full might. Massive chunks of rock would be hurled aside, molten streams redirected, the battlefield itself reshaped by Yoda's mastery. Yet Anakin would counter with equal ferocity, his raw connection to the Force bending the environment in his favor. Flames roar higher, platforms collapse, the duel spilling into chaos as if the planet itself reacts to their clash. But where Obi-Wan fought with heartbreak, Yoda fights with purpose. Every movement, every strike, every parry is intended not to save Anakin, but to end him. This is the most haunting difference of all. Yoda, wise as he is, would see the Sith's corruption too deep, the danger too great. Redemption is not his mission. Survival of the galaxy is. Still, Anakin's desperation fuels him further. Unlike Sidious, Yoda is not manipulating, not promising him power. That only enrages Anakin more. To him, Yoda represents the very chains he sought to break, the dogma of the Jedi, the tradition that refused to let him save Padme. Every strike he makes carries the weight of his defiance, the conviction that only he understands destiny. The duel would not be one of pleading words, but of silence broken only by roars of fury and the hiss of sabers. Where Obi-Wan's voice cracked with sorrow, Yoda would speak only in calm judgments, each line cutting sharper than a blade. And in this clash of fire and wisdom, the question would emerge: would Anakin's volcanic fury finally overwhelm the ancient master, or would Yoda strike the final blow, severing not just a limb, but the hope of ever bringing the Chosen One back to the light? If Anakin Skywalker had faced Yoda instead of Obi Wan, the outcome of the duel would ripple far beyond Mustafar's rivers of fire. The consequences would not only shape the fate of the Jedi, but also determine whether Darth Sidious's grand plan succeeded or crumbled into ash. First, consider Yoda's mindset. When he battled Sidious in the Senate chambers, Yoda admitted failure. He recognized that the younger Sith Lord had become too powerful for him to defeat. But against Anakin, things are different. Though the Chosen One's potential surpasses nearly all others, he is still young, still reckless, still unrefined. Yoda might see this as his final chance, not just to stop the rise of the Sith, but to preserve the Jedi's legacy by eliminating the greatest threat before it matures into something unstoppable. Should Yoda triumph, the galaxy itself shifts overnight. Imagine Sidious awaiting his apprentice's victory, only to sense through the Force that Anakin has fallen. His carefully woven plan, which relied not only on Anakin's strength, but also on the symbolism of turning the Chosen One, would unravel. Sidious could seek another apprentice, but none would carry the mythic weight of Skywalker. Palpatine without Vader is like a shadow without a flame. Dangerous, yes, but far less consuming. On the other hand, if Anakin prevails, the consequences are equally catastrophic. Yoda's death would be more than the fall of a Jedi Master. It would be the extinguishing of the Jedi's spiritual heart. Yoda had guided generations of Jedi. He was not just a warrior, but the embodiment of their wisdom, their patience, their endurance. His loss would leave the surviving Jedi scattered, hunted, broken, without a figure of hope. For Anakin, the victory would cement his transformation into Darth Vader not as Sidious's apprentice, but as the slayer of the greatest Jedi who ever lived. There is also the question of the Jedi Order itself. In the canon timeline, Obi Wan and Yoda survive, serving as the last sparks of hope, guiding Luke and Leia toward the future. But if Yoda falls on Mustafar, the Order's future becomes fragile. Obi Wan, even if alive, would be only one man in hiding. The path to training the next generation of Jedi would be far more uncertain. And what of Sidious? If Anakin kills Yoda, the Emperor's victory becomes absolute. He would not just rule with an apprentice, but with an unstoppable enforcer who had destroyed the very symbol of Jedi endurance. If Yoda wins, however, Sidious loses his greatest weapon, and perhaps his claim to inevitability. His empire might still rise, but without Vader at his side, it could falter, challenged by remnants of the Republic, by surviving Jedi, or even by Anakin's children before his reign could solidify. Thus, the duel on Mustafar does not merely decide who falls into lava. It determines whether the Sith ascend as destiny fulfilled, or whether their darkness cracks under the weight of one Jedi's final stand. History, in both reality and myth, often turns on moments unseen. If Yoda confronted Anakin instead of Obi Wan, the galaxy that followed would bear little resemblance to the one we know. It would not be the age of Darth Vader, the black-armored terror of the Empire. It would be something altogether different, and perhaps even stranger. If Yoda triumphed, striking down Anakin on Mustafar, the prophecy of the Chosen One would fracture. Was balance ever meant to come through Skywalker, or had destiny been misread by the Jedi all along? The galaxy might enter a new era of doubt, where the Order struggles not just to survive, but to reinterpret its place in the Force. Yoda himself, though victorious, would carry the weight of killing the very child they once believed was chosen to save them. Would he live on as a guardian of hope, or retreat into exile, burdened by the knowledge that he had ended the greatest potential the galaxy had ever seen? And yet, this path offers opportunity. Without Vader, the Empire's grip might be weaker. Sidious would still rule, but his reign would lack the symbol of unstoppable fear that Darth Vader became. The rebellion might spark sooner, burn brighter, and face an emperor who, for all his cunning, lacked the devastating enforcer who ensured compliance across star systems. Perhaps Leia and Luke would grow up not as hidden exiles, but as rallying leaders for a galaxy desperate for freedom. If Anakin prevailed, however, the future darkens beyond recognition. Imagine a galaxy where Vader never dons the mask, never suffers the injuries that make him more machine than man. Instead, he remains in his prime, unscarred, his full potential intact. Such a Vader would be terrifying beyond measure. The rebellion may never form at all. Sidious would command a weapon not only stronger than the Vader we know, but also untethered by physical weakness, a perfect apprentice in body, mind, and destiny. The galaxy might kneel for centuries under their combined rule, with no hope of redemption, no spark of rebellion. And in this alternate timeline, the children of Anakin Skywalker would not be saviors, but hidden secrets, perhaps never found, or perhaps crushed before they could rise. The Skywalker legacy, which in our history became a cycle of fall and redemption, might instead become a warning of absolute corruption, a family name drowned in fire and darkness. So the question lingers, was Obi Wan meant to face Anakin because love and heartbreak left the smallest chance for hope? Did the Force itself guide events so that Anakin's fall would not be absolute, leaving the door open for redemption through his son? Perhaps. Or perhaps destiny is less forgiving, and the galaxy was always one decision away from eternal night.